The reluctant sovereign. The escape pod's emergency systems blared as Commander Maya Ellis frantically stabilized its descent toward the uncharted planet below. Smoke filled the tiny cabin, acrid and thick, as circuitry overheated under the strain of atmospheric entry. "Come on, you piece of junk," Maya muttered, her fingers dancing across the failing navigation console. Her military training kept her movements precise despite the pod bucking violently around her. The United Earth Force insignia on her shoulder caught the flickering red emergency lights as she worked. 20 minutes earlier, her scout ship, the UEF Pathfinder, had been ambushed by hegemony warships at the edge of the Andromeda Rift. The massive alien empire had been expanding aggressively into human territory for years. As the ship broke apart around her crew, Maya had ordered them to the escape pods, staying behind until everyone had launched. Now she found herself hurtling toward an unmapped world with minimal supplies and no way to contact Earth Command. The pod's heat shields glowed white-hot as Maya fought for control. Through the viewport, she glimpsed vast plains and towering mountain ranges before the pod smashed through a dense canopy of alien trees. The impact threw her against her restraints, the world spinning as the pod tumbled downhill, finally slamming to a halt against something solid. Silence descended, broken only by the hiss of cooling metal and Maya's labored breathing. Her dark hair had come loose from its regulation bun, falling across her face as she ran a self-diagnostic. Nothing broken, though tomorrow she'd be a constellation of bruises. "Computer, status report," she coughed, unbuckling her harness. "Life support functional. Communications offline. Hull integrity at 62%. Location unknown." Maya grabbed her emergency pack and the standard-issue pulse rifle before forcing the pod's door open with a hydraulic groan. Humid air rushed in, carrying strange, spicy scents. Stepping out cautiously, she surveyed her surroundings. The pod had crashed into what appeared to be an ancient structure, massive stone blocks covered in swirling patterns that seemed to shimmer in the planet's strange amber light. "Great. First contact, and I've already damaged the cultural heritage," she muttered, running her hand along the strange symbols. Their patterns seemed almost familiar, triggering something in her memory that she couldn't quite place. Maya's wrist scanner showed breathable atmosphere but warned of approaching life forms. Taking cover behind a fallen column, she watched as slender figures emerged from the dense vegetation. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to reflect light like polished opal. 4 arms extended from their torsos, and their elongated faces featured large violet eyes that dominated their features. They approached the pod cautiously, communicating in musical clicks and whistles. Maya's universal translator struggled to process their language, catching only fragments about the vessel and the prophecy. One of them, adorned with intricate silver markings that wound around all 4 arms, approached the ancient structure where Maya had inadvertently damaged the wall. The alien placed all 4 hands on the stone, and to Maya's astonishment, the symbols began to glow with an inner light, pulsing in rhythm with what seemed to be the alien's heartbeat. The wall shifted, stone grinding against stone, revealing the hidden chamber. From within, a soft blue luminescence spilled out like liquid light. Maya's curiosity overrode her caution. She stepped from her hiding place, hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. "Hello. I come from Earth. My name is Commander Maya Ellis." The aliens froze, all violet eyes turning toward her. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, as one, they dropped to their knees, bowing their heads toward her. The translator finally caught up. "The sovereign has returned, as foretold. The cycle is complete. I think there's been a misunderstanding," Maya said carefully. "I'm just a scout ship commander. I crashed here by accident." The leader rose, approaching Maya with reverent steps. "There are no accidents in the grand pattern, Sovereign. You have come at the time of greatest need, when the stars align as they did in the First Age." The alien gestured toward the open chamber. "The beacon awaits your touch. Only the true sovereign can awaken it and free our people from bondage. Against her better judgment, Maya followed the alien into the chamber. In its center stood a pedestal, and upon it rested what appeared to be a sword, though unlike any she had seen. Its blade seemed to be made of the same material as her ship's quantum drive core, a swirling metallic substance that wasn't quite solid. The hilt was worn, wrapped in what might have been leather, with a single blue crystal embedded at its pommel. "This is the beacon?" Maya asked. "The ancestral blade," the alien corrected. "Forged in the heart of a dying star, and cooled in the essence of our world's core. It has awaited your return for 7,000 cycles." "Look," Maya began, "I appreciate the welcome, but I'm not your sovereign. I need to repair my communications equipment and contact my people." The alien, who introduced himself as Viridian, High Guardian of the Phyrexian people, tilted his head in a gesture that somehow conveyed both amusement and patience. "The blade will reveal the truth," he said simply, gesturing toward the sword. Maya sighed. First contact protocols dictated cultural respect and minimal interference. If touching this artifact would help establish diplomatic relations until she could signal for extraction, she'd play along. She reached for the hilt, expecting nothing but cool metal under her fingers. Instead, the moment her skin contacted the ancient weapon, blue energy surged up her arm like lightning. The sword's blade transformed from dull metal to brilliant blue fire, illuminating the chamber with such intensity that Maya had to shield her eyes. Images flooded her mind. A vast war across the stars, refugees fleeing to distant worlds, a promise to return and reclaim what was lost. And through it all, faces that looked eerily like her own, wielding the same blade across generations. When the light subsided, Maya found herself on her knees, gasping. The sword, now a gleaming blade of what appeared to be pure energy, hummed softly in her grip. "The beacon acknowledges you, Sovereign," Viridian said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have returned to us at last." "That's impossible," Maya whispered, staring at the transformed weapon. "I'm human, not whatever you are. The first sovereign came from beyond the stars, just as you have." Another Phyrexian explained, this one smaller with more delicate markings. "Our histories say they shared their essence with our ancestors, creating a bond that transcends physical form." Before Maya could argue further, her scanner beeped urgently. "Multiple ships entering the atmosphere," she announced, reading the display. "Military configuration." The Phyrexians' expressions shifted to fear. "The hegemony has found us," Viridian said. "They have hunted the last of the Phyrexian free tribes for generations. If they discover the temple and the beacon awakened..." Maya's tactical mind snapped to attention. "How many fighters can you muster?" "We are not warriors, Sovereign. We are scholars, preservers of the old ways. The fighting tribes were exterminated centuries ago." Maya looked at the sword in her hand, then at the frightened aliens who believed she was their salvation. She thought of the hegemony ships that had destroyed her vessel without provocation, of her scattered crew in escape pods across this sector. "I'm not your sovereign," she said firmly, "but I am a commander of the United Earth Force, and we don't abandon people in need." She hefted the sword, surprised by its perfect balance. "Tell me everything you know about these hegemony forces, and quickly." Over the next hour, Maya learned that the hegemony, a coalition of technologically advanced species, had been systematically conquering the galaxy for centuries. The Phyrexians, once a proud spacefaring civilization, had been reduced to scattered tribes hiding on forgotten worlds after refusing to join the Empire. The sword, or beacon as they called it, was more than a weapon. It was a key to ancient Phyrexian technology that could potentially turn the tide against their oppressors. The prophecy spoke of a sovereign from beyond their world who would return and reactivate these dormant systems. "And you really think I'm this person?" Maya asked skeptically. "The beacon responded to you," Viridian replied simply. "No one has been able to awaken it since the last sovereign fell defending our homeworld." Maya's scanner beeped again. "They're landing about 10 kilometers north," Standard search pattern. They're looking for my pod. She made a quick decision. We need to move. Is there somewhere more defensible? Viridian led Maya and his people deeper into the temple complex, through corridors that seemed to recognize their presence, lighting up as they passed. They emerged into a vast chamber dominated by a circular platform surrounded by towering crystalline pillars. The Nexus, Viridian explained. From here, the ancient sovereigns could access all the defense systems of our old empire. Maya stepped onto the platform, the sword still in her hand. Immediately, the entire chamber hummed to life, holographic displays materializing around her, showing the planet and the approaching hegemony forces, 3 dropships carrying approximately 60 soldiers. I can see them, she breathed, understanding intuitively how to manipulate the displays. But where are these defense systems you mentioned? They lie dormant, Viridian said. Only the Sovereign's command will awaken them. Maya frowned, studying the tactical display. I don't know the command, and we don't have time for a history lesson. We need to work with what we have. She surveyed the temple layout on the holographic map. These passages here, do they connect to the surface near where the hegemony is landing? When Viridian confirmed they did, Maya began to formulate a plan. Her Earth Force training hadn't prepared her for leading an alien resistance with mystical technology, but the basics of asymmetric warfare remained the same regardless of the battlefield. I need volunteers who know these tunnels well, she announced to the gathered Vrexians. We're going to give our unwelcome visitors a proper greeting. As several Vrexians stepped forward, Maya felt the sword pulse in her hand, almost as if in approval. She didn't believe in prophecies or destiny, but she did believe in fighting against oppression wherever she found it. Let's show this hegemony what happens when they mess with the wrong planet, she said, her voice steady despite the fear and doubt churning inside her. For now, she would be their sovereign, not because of some ancient prophecy, but because these people needed hope, and she needed allies to survive. As they prepared to move out, Maya couldn't shake the strange familiarity she felt with the sword and this world. The images it had shown her haunted her thoughts. What if there was some truth to their beliefs? What if her presence here wasn't an accident after all? She pushed the questions aside. Right now, survival took precedence over existential mysteries. The hegemony forces would reach the temple within hours, and she had a defending force of scholars and priests armed with farming tools, and one mysterious energy sword. It wasn't exactly the elite squadron she was used to commanding, but Maya Ellis had never been one to back down from impossible odds. If the hegemony wanted this planet and its secrets, they'd have to go through her first. Command to all units, she said, falling easily into her military protocols despite the unusual circumstances. Prepare for defensive operations. The Vrexians looked at her with trust and hope shining in their violet eyes. Maya raised the sword, its blue energy casting sharp shadows across her determined face. Let's make them regret ever entering this system. The human element. The first hegemony soldier who entered the temple's outer courtyard never saw what hit him. Maya's improvised trap, a simple pressure plate triggering a fall of heavy stones, eliminated the point man instantly. The rest of the squad scattered for cover, their sleek black armor reflecting the amber sunlight as they scanned for threats. Contact front, one shouted, his translator making his alien speech comprehensible to Maya as she watched from her hidden position. Possible native resistance. Maya smiled grimly. She had positioned her Vrexian volunteers throughout the temple complex, using their intimate knowledge of the ancient structure to create a maze of ambush points and escape routes. Though not warriors by nature, the Vrexians had proven surprisingly adaptable under her guidance. Remember, she had told them during their hasty preparation, we can't match their firepower or training. But they don't know this place like you do, and they're not expecting organized resistance. Now, as the hegemony forces cautiously advanced into her kill zone, Maya thumbed the activation switch on her jury-rigged detonator. The explosive, fashioned from components salvaged from her escape pod, wasn't military grade, but it didn't need to be. The thunderous blast collapsed part of the courtyard ceiling, separating the hegemony squad and creating mass confusion. In the chaos, Maya darted from her hiding place, the ancestral blade humming with energy in her grip. Its blue glow seemed to intensify as she approached the enemy, as if eager for combat. She reached the first disoriented soldier, and with a precise strike, disabled his weapon rather than killing him. The second soldier managed to raise his rifle before Maya swept his legs and delivered a calculated blow to his helmet, cracking the faceplate and rendering him unconscious. Her Earth Force hand-to-hand combat training, combined with the sword's uncanny ability to slice through the hegemony's advanced armor, made her a formidable opponent. But Maya was under no illusions. She couldn't defeat an entire hegemony force this way. This was merely the opening move in a longer game. After eliminating the advance team, Maya signaled the Vrexians to fall back deeper into the temple. Their strategy wasn't to win a direct confrontation, but to draw the enemy into increasingly difficult terrain while gathering intelligence on their capabilities and numbers. Sovereign, they call for reinforcements, Viridian reported as they regrouped in the Nexus chamber. His iridescent skin was dulled with dust, but his four hands remained steady as he manipulated the holographic displays Maya had shown him how to use. "Good," Maya replied, wiping sweat from her brow. "And stop calling me Sovereign. My name is Maya." Viridian made a musical sound that the translator interpreted as respectful amusement. "As you wish, Maya Sovereign." She rolled her eyes, but let it go. Cultural integration was always a compromise. The holographic display showed the remaining hegemony forces consolidating around their landing zone, with dropships bringing additional troops and equipment. Maya counted at least 100 soldiers now, plus what appeared to be mechanized units, bipedal combat walkers bristling with weapons. "They're taking us seriously," she observed. "That's actually helpful. The more resources they commit here, the fewer they have available to search for other escape pods from my ship." A younger Vrexian named Lizara approached, her movements quick and nervous. "I've accessed the ancient archives as you requested, Maya Sovereign. The beacon's full capabilities are extensive." Maya turned her attention to the new information Lizara had retrieved. The sword she carried was actually a control key to a vast network of Vrexian defense systems scattered throughout this sector of space. Autonomous weapon platforms, shield generators, and even faster-than-light communication relays, all dormant for centuries, waiting for the genetic signature of a sovereign to reactivate them. "This can't be right," Maya murmured, studying the data. "According to this, my genetic pattern is a 97% match for the sovereign bloodline. But I'm human, not Vrexian." Viridian exchanged glances with the other elders. "The first sovereign came from beyond, as you did. Our histories tell that they shared their essence with chosen Vrexians, creating a lineage that would endure even if our civilization fell." "You're saying one of my ancestors was from your species?" Maya asked incredulously. "Or perhaps the reverse," Lizara suggested. "The universe's patterns often mirror each other in unexpected ways." Maya didn't have time to contemplate the metaphysical implications. The hegemony forces were regrouping for a major assault, and she needed to prepare her defenses. "Show me how to activate these weapon platforms," she said, focusing on the practical problem at hand. Over the next hour, Maya learned that awakening the full Vrexian defense network would require accessing multiple activation nodes throughout the temple complex, areas now crawling with hegemony soldiers. But activating even one node could give them a fighting chance. "The nearest node is in the Chamber of Echoes," Viridian explained, highlighting a location on the holographic map. "But the hegemony forces have established a forward base between us and that chamber." Maya studied the layout, formulating a plan. "We'll need a diversion, something big enough to draw their attention while a small team infiltrates this passage here." As they discussed tactics, an alarm sounded from the holographic display. A massive ship had entered orbit, far larger than the dropships they'd seen earlier. Sovereign vessel, one of the Vrexian elders whispered, fear evident in his voice. They've sent a sovereign. The holographic image zoomed in on the ship, revealing a sleek craft of black and crimson. According to the temple's ancient sensors, it carried planet-destroying weaponry. Commander Vexthor, Viridian explained, the hegemony's most ruthless enforcer. He has obliterated entire civilizations that refuse to submit. Maya watched as a shuttle detached from the massive ship, heading toward the planet's surface. Looks like we got someone's attention, she muttered. Time to accelerate our plans. She divided the Vrexians into teams, one to create diversions throughout the temple complex, one to guard the Nexus chamber, and a small infiltration group that she would personally lead to the activation node. As they prepared to move out, Maya addressed her unlikely allies. I know I'm not the sovereign you expected. I'm just a human commander a long way from home. But today, we fight together against those who would take your freedom. Where I come from, we have a saying. The measure of civilization isn't in its conquests, but in how fiercely it defends its most vulnerable members. The Vrexians responded with a harmonic sound that made the very air vibrate. Their version of applause. Maya realized. Their journey to the Chamber of Echoes was a gauntlet of close calls and brief, violent encounters. Maya used every trick from her Earth Force training, improvised explosives, misdirection, and when necessary, the devastating power of the ancestral blade. The sword seemed to anticipate her movements, sometimes guiding her hand rather than following it, as if it possessed a will of its own. When they finally reached the Chamber of Echoes, a vast space where crystalline formations amplified and redirected sound in disorienting patterns, Maya knew they had little time before the hegemony realized their true objective. The activation node was a simple pedestal at the chamber center, similar to where she had found the sword. Maya approached it cautiously, the blade humming more intensely with each step. Once activated, what exactly will this do? She asked Viridian, who had insisted on accompanying her despite the danger. It will awaken the orbital defense platform above this continent, he explained. A weapon powerful enough to destroy the hegemony ships in orbit. But what? Viridian's forehands made a complex gesture of uncertainty. The power requirements are immense. The temple's reserves may not be sufficient after so many centuries. Maya considered their options. Is there a way to supplement the power? Before Viridian could answer, the chamber's entrance exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris stepped a towering figure in ornate black armor, his helmet designed to resemble a snarling predator. 4 arms, like the Vrexians but more heavily muscled, held advanced energy weapons. The false sovereign, he said, his voice a resonant growl translated into Maya's earpiece. I am Commander Vexthor of the Hegemony Sovereign Fleet. Your primitive traps have cost me valuable soldiers, human. Maya positioned herself between Vexthor and the activation node, the ancestral blade raised defensively. They weren't that valuable if a few primitive traps took them out. Vexthor laughed, the sound like stones grinding together. Spirit, I appreciate that in a species before we incorporated into the hegemony. The Vrexians once had spirit too, before we broke them. You haven't broken anyone yet, Maya replied, buying time as she assessed her opponent. He was larger, stronger, and better armed. But the chamber's unusual acoustics might provide an advantage if she could exploit them. The sword you hold is a relic of a dead empire, Vexthor continued, circling slowly. Did these pathetic creatures tell you their fairy tales about sovereigns and destiny? They tell such stories to every species they encounter, hoping for saviors that never come. Maya noticed something in his tone, not dismissal, but something closer to fear. If it's just a fairy tale, why send a fleet commander to deal with one human and a bunch of scholars? She challenged. Vexthor's helmet tilted slightly. The hegemony does not permit competition, especially from technologies we cannot replicate. And there it was, the truth beneath the hegemony's conquest. They couldn't understand or control Vrexian technology, so they sought to destroy it instead. The beacon recognizes true strength, Maya said. An idea forming. Not brute force, but the strength to protect others. That's why your hegemony can't use it. She lunged suddenly, not at Vexthor, but toward the activation node, slamming the ancestral blade into its receptacle. Blue energy cascaded from the sword into the pedestal, then throughout the chamber. The crystalline formations began to glow, amplifying the energy in waves that made Maya's teeth vibrate. Vexthor roared in rage, firing his weapons, but the energy bolts dispersed harmlessly against a shield that had formed around Maya and the node. The temple systems came alive, holographic displays materializing to show a massive orbital platform awakening from dormancy above the planet. But as Viridian had warned, the power levels were critically low, barely at 40% of what was needed for full activation. Vexthor seemed to realize this. Your gesture is meaningless, human. The defense system cannot function without sufficient power. He approached the shield, studying it with clinical interest. It will fail in minutes, and then I will take the beacon for study before executing you and these traitors. Maya's mind raced. There had to be a solution. The sword showed her glimpses again, faces of past sovereigns, moments of triumph and sacrifice. One image repeated. A sovereign placing both hands on the blade, their life force flowing into it as the blue energy engulfed them completely. The power source, she whispered, understanding. It's us, the sovereigns themselves. Viridian nodded solemnly. The ultimate sacrifice, if freely given. Maya considered her options. She had no way to contact Earth Force, no guarantee that her crew had survived. But the Phyrexians, an entire civilization hunted to near extinction, might have a future if she acted now. Vexthor, she called out, you said the hegemony incorporates species. What happens to those who don't fit your vision? The commander's helmet tilted in what might have been amusement. They serve as examples to others who might consider resistance. Yeah, that's what I thought. Maya placed both hands firmly on the ancestral blade's hilt, feeling its energy begin to draw from her. Viridian, when this is done, use the Nexus to contact Earth Force. Tell them Commander Maya Ellis completed her mission and made first contact. Maya Sovereign. Viridian began, distress evident in his voice. That's an order, she said firmly, then closed her eyes and focused on channeling her energy into the sword. The blue glow intensified, becoming blinding as it spread from the blade throughout Maya's body. She felt her life force flowing into the ancient system, her consciousness expanding to encompass the temple, the defense platform, the planet itself. Pain gave way to a strange serenity as her physical form began to dissolve into pure energy. Vexthor crashed against the shield, trying desperately to stop what was happening. No, the beacon cannot be activated. The hegemony forbids it. Through the haze of transformation, Maya smiled. The hegemony doesn't make the rules here anymore. With a final surge of will, she completed the sacrifice. Her physical body dissipated entirely, becoming one with the Phyrexian defense network. In that moment of transcendence, she understood everything. The true origin of the sovereigns, the ancient war that had scattered both humans and Phyrexians across the stars, the genetic manipulation that had preserved the command lineage across species and millennia. The orbital platform fired a single perfect beam of energy that pierced Vexthor's ship from orbit to core, detonating it in a spectacular explosion visible even from the planet's surface. The smaller hegemony vessels scattered in panic, jumping to faster-than-light speeds to escape. In the Chamber of Echoes, Vexthor fell to his knees as his neural link to his destroyed flagship overwhelmed his senses. The shield around the activation node collapsed, the ancestral blade now dark and dormant in its housing. Maya Ellis was gone. And yet, in another sense, she was everywhere. Her consciousness existed now within the Phyrexian network, able to manifest as a holographic presence throughout their ancient systems. Her image appeared before the stunned Viridian, translucent and glowing with the same blue energy as the sword. "I understand now," she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. "Humans didn't evolve independently on Earth. We're descendants of Phyrexians who fled there thousands of years ago after the First Hegemony War, our appearances diverging over millennia of adaptation." Viridian bowed deeply. "You have saved us, Sovereign." Maya's holographic form shook her head. "Not just me. We did this together. Human ingenuity and Phyrexian wisdom. And we're not finished." She turned toward the defeated Vexthor. "The hegemony will send others when they realize what's happened here. But now the defense network is active, and I can control it. This planet is under Earth Force protection now." In the days that followed, Maya's escape pod signal was finally detected by an Earth Force rescue ship. When they arrived, they found a thriving alliance between the human survivors and the Phyrexian tribes, with tales of an extraordinary commander who had sacrificed herself to save both species. But Maya Ellis hadn't truly died. Through the ancient Phyrexian technology, her consciousness continued to guide her people, becoming a bridge between two civilizations that had once been one. As word spread throughout the galaxy of a human who had awakened ancient powers and defeated a hegemony fleet, other subjugated species began to whisper their own prophecies of liberation. The hegemony, for the first time in centuries, found itself on the defensive. And in the Temple of Echoes, the ancestral blade waited in its housing, dormant but not dead, ready for the next worthy hand to grasp it and continue the legacy of the sovereign who had come from beyond the stars to reclaim her people's destiny. The universe would never be the same again.